Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Daily English Learn. I'm Eva.
And I'm Mark. Thanks for joining us today.
So, Mark, let me ask you something. Have you ever been at a party or a gathering and someone comes up to you, maybe a colleague you don't know well, and they start talking, but within 30 seconds, the conversation just dies? You're standing there, drinking your hand, looking around awkwardly, thinking, what do I say now?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling is the worst. Your mind goes completely blank, and you start wondering if you should just walk away or pretend your phone is ringing.
Exactly. And this happens to English learners all the time, not because their grammar is weak or their vocabulary is limited, but because they've never learned how to keep a casual conversation alive. They don't know what topic to bring up next, they don't know how to respond naturally, and honestly, most English courses never teach this skill.
That's so true. Schools focus on tenses and sentence structures, but nobody teaches you how to chat comfortably with a stranger at a coffee shop or make polite conversation with your neighbor.
Right. So today, we're going to solve that problem. By the end of this lesson, you'll know exactly how to start a casual conversation, keep it flowing smoothly, and never feel stuck again. We're going to teach you something called conversation linking. It's a simple but powerful technique that native speakers use all the time without even thinking about it.
And we're going to show you how to connect different everyday topics naturally, so your conversations feel friendly, relaxed, and interesting. You'll be able to talk for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or even longer without running out of things to say.
So stay with us. This is going to be a practical, confidence building lesson that you can use immediately.
All right, so let's start by understanding why most English learners struggle with casual conversations. Eva, what do you think is the biggest mistake people make?
Great question. The biggest mistake is treating every topic like a separate island. Let me explain what I mean. Imagine you're talking to someone and they ask you, what do you do for work? You answer, I'm a teacher. Then silence. The conversation ends right there because you didn't connect it to anything else.
Yes, exactly. Or someone asks, how's the weather today? And you say, it's sunny. Then nothing. You both just stand there smiling awkwardly because the topic is finished and you don't know where to go next.
Right, and this happens because learners think in boxes. They learn vocabulary for work, vocabulary for weather, vocabulary for food, but they never learn how to link these topics together in a natural way.
Native speakers don't do that. When a native speaker talks about work, they might naturally move to talking about travel because of a business trip. From travel, they might mention food they tried in another city. From food, they could talk about cooking at home, which leads to talking about weekend routines. It all flows.
Exactly, it's like a chain. One topic leads to another, and the conversation keeps going smoothly. The secret is learning how to find those connection points.
So today, we're going to teach you a very simple method. We'll show you how to take any topic, listen for clues, and then smoothly move to a related topic without sounding strange or forced.
And don't worry, we're going to give you lots of real examples. You'll hear exactly how these transitions work in real English conversations. All right, so let's talk about the three main ways you can connect topics. Mark, what's the first type?
The first type is the direct connection. This is when someone mentions something and you immediately respond by asking a follow-up question about a related topic. For example, if someone says, I just came back from a business trip to Tokyo, you can directly connect that to travel or food.
Right. You could say, oh, Tokyo. I've always wanted to visit Japan. Did you try any interesting food there? See what happened? They mentioned a business trip and you connected it to travel and food in one smooth sentence.
Exactly. You're not changing the subject suddenly. You're taking what they said and expanding it naturally. Let me give you another example. If someone says, I've been so busy with work lately, you can connect that to daily life. You could say, that sounds exhausting. How do you usually relax after a busy day?
Perfect. So the key here is listening carefully. When someone talks, they're giving you clues. They mention work, travel, food, stress, hobbies. These are all doors you can walk through to keep the conversation going.
The second type of connection is the personal experience link. This is when you relate what someone said to your own life. It makes the conversation feel more friendly and equal.
Yes, I love this one. So if someone says, I enjoy hiking on weekends, you can respond with your own experience. You could say, that's really nice. I'm not much of a hiker, but I love spending time outdoors too. I usually go cycling in the park. Now you've kept the topic going, but you've also shared something about yourself.
Exactly. And this works even if your experience is different. If someone says they love spicy food and you don't, you can still connect. You could say, oh, I can't handle too much spice, but I really enjoy trying different cuisines. Have you ever tried Thai food? See, you connected through the general topic of food, even though your preferences are different.
That's such an important point. You don't have to agree with someone to keep a conversation going. You just need to stay on a related topic and show interest.
And now the third type of connection is the transition phrase. This is when you use certain English phrases to smoothly move from one topic to another without it feeling sudden.
Yes, these are really useful. Phrases like speaking of, that reminds me, or by the way, help you shift topics naturally. For example, if you're talking about cold weather and you want to change to talking about hobbies, you could say, by the way, what do you usually do during winter to stay active?
Or if someone mentions they cook a lot and you want to shift to weekend activities, you could say, that's great. Speaking of weekends, do you usually cook for family gatherings or do you prefer eating out?
These little phrases are so helpful because they signal to the listener that you're moving to something new, but it still feels connected and natural.
All right, now let's put all of this into practice. Eva and I are going to have a short conversation and we'll show you how we link topics together using the techniques we just explained.
Sounds good. Let's start naturally. Mark, how was your weekend?
It was really nice, actually. I went to a new restaurant with some friends. We tried Vietnamese food for the first time.
Oh, Vietnamese food. That's interesting. I love trying different cuisines. How did you like it?
It was amazing. The pho was so flavorful and the spring rolls were really fresh. Have you ever tried Vietnamese food?
Yes, I have. There's a small Vietnamese place near my office, and I go there sometimes for lunch. The flavors are so light and refreshing. Speaking of lunch, do you usually cook at home or do you prefer eating out?
I cook at home most of the time, actually. I find it relaxing after a long day at work. But on weekends, I like to go out and try new places.
That's nice. Cooking can be really therapeutic. I'm the opposite, though. I'm not very good at cooking, so I usually keep it simple, like pasta or sandwiches. What's your favorite dish to make?
I really enjoy making stir fry. It's quick, healthy, and you can use whatever vegetables you have. Plus, it reminds me of when I used to live in Thailand for a few months.
Oh, you lived in Thailand. That must have been an incredible experience. What took you there?
I was teaching English at a language school in Bangkok. It was one of the best experiences of my life. The people were so friendly, and I got to travel around the country on weekends.
That sounds wonderful. I've always wanted to visit Southeast Asia. The beaches, the culture, the food, it's all so appealing. Do you think you'd go back?
Definitely. Actually, I'm hoping to plan a trip there next year if the weather is good for traveling.
Oh, yes. Weather makes such a difference when you're planning a trip. I always check the forecast weeks in advance.
Me too. I can't stand traveling during the rainy season. I prefer dry, sunny weather so I can spend time outdoors.
Same here. There's nothing worse than being stuck indoors on a vacation because of bad weather.
All right, so let's pause and break down what just happened in that conversation. Eva, how many different topics did we cover?
Let's see. We started with weekend plans, then moved to food and restaurants, then cooking at home, then work and daily routines, then travel and living abroad, and finally weather and trip planning. That's at least 6 different topics.
Exactly. And none of those transitions felt strange or forced, right? That's because we were using the connection techniques we talked about earlier.
Right. For example, when you mentioned Vietnamese food, I used a direct connection by asking if you cook at home. That's a natural link because food and cooking go together.
And when I mentioned I used to live in Thailand, you picked up on that and asked about travel. That's another direct connection. You listened for the clue I gave you and you followed it.
Exactly. And we also used transition phrases. I said, speaking of lunch, to move from food to cooking. That little phrase made the shift feel smooth.
So now, let's give our listeners a chance to practice. We're going to give you a starting sentence, and you should think about how you would connect it to another topic.
Great idea. Here's the first one. Imagine someone says to you, I've been working overtime this week and I'm exhausted. How would you connect that to another topic?
Take a few seconds and think about it. What could you say next?
You could connect it to relaxation or hobbies. You might say, that sounds really tiring. What do you usually do to relax after work? Or you could connect it to weekend plans. You could ask, do you have any plans this weekend to rest and recharge?
Perfect. Both of those are natural connections. Now here's another one. Someone says, I love the beach. I try to go whenever I can. How would you continue that conversation?
Think about it. What's the connection?
You could connect it to travel. You might say, that's great. Do you have a favorite beach destination? Or you could connect it to activities. You could ask, what do you usually do at the beach? Do you swim or do you prefer just relaxing?
Exactly. The key is to listen for keywords. In this case, the keyword was beach, and that can lead to travel, hobbies, weather, or favorite places.
All right, everyone, we've covered a lot today, so let's quickly review the main points.
First, remember that casual conversations don't have to be difficult. The secret is learning how to link topics together so the conversation flows naturally.
Second, there are three main ways to connect topics. You can use a direct connection by asking a follow-up question. You can use a personal experience link by sharing something about yourself. Or you can use a transition phrase like, speaking of, or that reminds me.
Third, always listen carefully when someone is talking. They're giving you clues. They mention work, food, hobbies, travel, weather. These are all opportunities to keep the conversation going.
And finally, practice. The more you try this in real life, the more natural it will become. Start with simple topics like weather or food, and then practice connecting them to other subjects.
You don't need to be perfect. Even native speakers sometimes have awkward pauses in conversations. The important thing is to try, stay relaxed, and keep the conversation friendly.
So, before we finish, here's your homework. The next time you talk to someone in English, try to connect at least 2 different topics. It could be anything: work and hobbies, food and travel, weather and weekend plans. Just practice making that smooth transition.
And if you found this lesson helpful, please share it with other English learners. The more you practice together, the better you'll become.
Thanks so much for listening today. I'm Mark.
And I'm Eva. Until next time, keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember, every conversation is a chance to improve your English.
Take care, everyone. See you in the next lesson.
Bye for now.